All right, notes 2.3 are on multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation. We did questions 1 and 2 in class, so let's look at the steps to multiplying numbers in scientific notation. If you ever forget, this is where you're going to go back and look, okay? So step 1 is to multiply the coefficients, okay? Once you've done that, step 2 is to blank the exponents. Well, we're multiplying, so the rules are not going to change. You guys always know that when you multiply, you should always add exponents. So we're still going to add our exponents. But last thing we need to do is adjust the result to make sure that it's written in scientific notation, okay? And then same thing when we're dividing numbers in scientific notation, it's almost the same thing, except instead of multiplying the coefficients, we are going to divide the coefficients, okay? Instead of adding the exponents, we're going to subtract the exponents. And then we're still going to adjust the result to scientific notation. Now, you guys, you are already doing this all the time in numbers, in expressions, and variables that are not scientific notation. For example, if I were to multiply out 4x squared times 5x, you guys know that I have to multiply 4 times 5 and I end up getting 20. And then I should add my exponents, the 2 and the 1, which you should get 3. So this is 20x to the third power. So you multiply the coefficients, you add the exponents, just like we've always done. All right, and same thing when you divide. If I want to divide 18x to the third power by 2x right here, I would divide 18 by 2, I would get 9, and then I would just subtract my exponents, so I'd get 9x squared. Nothing new except the fact that these are numbers that are written in scientific notation instead of as variables. So the first thing I'm going to do in question number 3, to figure this out, this is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply this number in scientific notation by this number in scientific notation. Now, I am allowed to change the order of numbers when I multiply anytime I want by a property called the commutative property. So, for example, I can say that 2 times 3 is 6, and I'm also allowed to say that 3 times 2 is 6. It's totally my choice. I can do it in any order I want, right? So same thing with this stuff right here. I can write this out in any order I want. So instead of putting the 43 with the 10 to the 9th power next to each other, I'm going to put the 43 next to the 7. So I'm going to say it's 43 times 7, okay? And then I'm going to say it's times 10 to the 9th power right here times 10 to the 4th power. I haven't changed anything. All I did was I just rewrote numbers in a different order, okay? See how that works? All right, so then now I can figure out what these answers are. You can use a calculator this unit. This is going to be some good practice for you guys with multiplying and dividing. So I'm going to take the 43 and the 7 and I'm going to multiply them together. So 43 times 7, well 3 times 7 is 21, carry the 2. 4 times 7 is 28 plus 2 is 30. So I end up getting 301 times 10 to the 9th power and the 4th power. Since this is multiplication, I'm going to add them. Now remember, this number has to be between 1 and 10. So I'm just going to readjust it. 301, remember this 3 is in the hundreds place, so it's really 3.01 multiplied by 100. And then I'm just going to copy this 10 to the 13th power. So this whole number right here is equal to 301, okay? We're going to take this just a little bit further. So I'm going to take 3.01, and I'm going to say it's times 10 to the 2nd power, right? Because that's what 100 is. And then again, I'm just going to copy down this 10 to the 13th power. Now all I'm going to do, since this is multiplication, is say that my answer is 3.01 times 10 to the 15th power, and I've done my multiplication, okay? So let's take a look at question number 2. In question number 2, I'm going to rewrite my numbers so that my coefficients go together and then my bases and my exponents go at the end. So I'm going to rewrite it as follows. 5.1 times 2.5 times, and then right here, I'm going to multiply these guys together. 10 to the negative 8th power times 10 to the 3rd power. Okay, So now I need to figure out what 5.1 times 2.5 is. All right. So when I figure out what 5.1 times 2.5 is, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so I have a little bit more room. We have to see how we do with this stuff, with our multiplication. So 5.1 multiplied by 2.5. When you multiply, decimals do not need to line up. So 1 times 5 is 5, okay? 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. Do not worry about putting the decimals yet. Then I'm going to put a 0 here, okay? And then I'm finished with the 5, and I'm going to multiply the 2 by the 1, which is 2, and the 2 by the 5, which is 10. Add all my numbers together, so 5 plus 0 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, 2 plus 0 is 2, and then 1 just gets brought down. Now, since this is off by 1 and this is also off by 1, my answer is going to be off by 2, so I'm going to put my decimal place right here. Now, it should make sense to you that that's where it goes, because I'm multiplying about 5 by 2.5. So my answer has to be around 12 or 13. It can't be 127.5. It can't be 1,275. 12.75 is the answer that makes sense, right? So right here, I get 12.75 from multiplying these guys together, times, when I multiply, I have to add my exponents, so this becomes 10 to the negative 5th power, okay? But here's my issue. This number right here is not between 1 and 10, so I'm going to rewrite it. So this right here, this is the tens place, so I have 1.275 times 10, because it's the tens place, multiplied by 10 to the negative 5th power. Well, this number right here is 10 to the 1st power. When you multiply, you add your exponents, so your final answer is 1.275 times 10 to the negative 4th power. Okay, and again, I know it's weird, but we are going to do lots and lots more practice until you're comfortable with this stuff. Okay, all right, so next example, question number 5. 230 times 10 to the 8th power, all divided by 5 times 10 to the negative 4th power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up into two separate pieces. Okay, I'm going to say that it's 230 over 5, okay, times 10 to the 8th power over 10 to the negative 4th power. So my coefficients are 230 and 5, so I'm going to divide them. So I'm going to figure out how many times 5 goes into 230. Well, 5 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 23 4 times. So 4 times 5 is 20, subtract them, you get 3, bring down the 0, 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30, subtract them, you end up with a remainder of nothing, so I'm good to go. There's nothing left to bring down, so I've done my division as completely as I can. So this ends up becoming 46, okay, times, now be careful, when you divide, you should subtract your exponents. So when I subtract my exponents, it's going to be 8 minus negative 4, so it's really 12, right, because this becomes a positive, so it's 46 times 10 to the 12th power. But again, this number needs to be adjusted, so I'm going to adjust it right now. This is 40, so it's 4 sets of 10, so it's 4.6 times 10 to the 1st power. Copy down this 10 to the 12th power, okay, and I end up getting 4.6, remember this is multiplication, times 10 to the 13th power, because 1 plus 12 is 13. Okay, we're going to do one last example together, and then we will be done for the day. So now this one is pretty tricky. First thing we're going to do is we are going to split up our division. So it's going to be 3.75 over 5.2 times 10 to the 9th power, over 10 to the 2nd power, okay? So this part right here is really tricky. I need to actually do this division, and this division is going to be difficult, so listen really carefully as we go through this. So I've got 5.2 into 3.75, okay? Now remember, when you divide, you don't want a decimal for the number that you're dividing by, So I'm allowed to move everything over by 1, right? So this becomes 52 into 37.5, because really I'm just multiplying the numerator by 10 and the denominator by 10. I'm not changing the fraction at all. I'm just rewriting it so that it's easier for me to do the division, okay? And the decimal place has to go where it was in the problem here. So it's got to line up, okay? So 52 does not go into 37 evenly. It doesn't go into 37 at all, actually. So this is going to be a 0. So I have to figure out how many times 52 goes into 37.5, okay? In order to do that, I'm going to list out some factors, or excuse me, some multiples of 52. So 52 is my first multiple. Multiply that by 2, you get 104, right? Just double it, you get 104. So then if I add another 52 on, 4 plus 2 is 6, 0 plus 5 is 5, so I get 156. I'm just adding 52 each time. So if I add 52 to 156, I get 208. I'm trying to get as close as I can to 375 without going over, okay? So I'm going to add another 52 to that. I end up getting 260. I'm getting closer. Add another 52, I get 312. Add another 52, I get 364. So that means that that's the closest number to 375 I will get without going over. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is going to go in 7 times. So 7 times 52 is 364. Okay, subtract it. 5 minus 4 is 1, 7 minus 6 is 1, 3 minus 3 cancels out. Now I'm going to add a 0 and bring down this 0 right here. So now I'm going to figure out how many times 52 goes into 110. Well, 104 is the closest number that will work. So that's going to go in 2 times. So it's 0.72, and then I end up getting 104 right here. Subtract it, you get 6 as your remainder. We're not going to keep going with it. 0.72 is sufficient for right now. So I end up getting 0.72 times 10 to the 7th power, because 9 minus 2 is 7. Now this number right here is not between 1 and 10, so I'm going to adjust it. This is the 10th place, right? So it's it's 7.2 out of 10, right? 10 to the 1st power times 10 to the 7th power. But remember, this just means 7.2 times 10 to the negative 1st power, to get it out of the denominator, times 10 to the 7th power. So I end up getting 7.2 times 10 to the 6th power, because when you multiply, you should add your exponents. I promise you, with more practice, you will get it, but you have to persevere and you have to believe that you can do this. Even though it is difficult, you can't give up, all right? I will see you in class. Have a good day.